Today is a little bit of a little bit of dramatics from Bellular. Should be good. Let's check it out. Oh, yeah, see how it was loading? It was loading because the
Do you
internet was
remember
some
just
shit.
how bleak things looked this time 2 years ago in the lead up to
Blizzard's
patch
boldest
9.1?
move yet. Patch 10.1 incoming
right?
early.
It looked so bad.
When kids
But
start
here we
childcare
are,
and
and the
school, get
news
ready
of
to get
today
sick, yeah.
is that patch
100%.
10.1 comes out on the 2nd of May.
Let's go.
The next season coming out on the 9th of May, 7 days later. This is earlier than anyone thought, right? I'm pretty sure that late May was just about the earliest people thought they could get away with, but no. And what this actually means for the game is kind of crazy. Here's some stats for you. When this comes out, it will have been 6 weeks since World of Warcraft's previous patch, which of course was 10.0.7. Right?
And doesn't it put it into perspective? People were kind of hating on 10.0.7, saying, there's not a lot of content. You know, you do the ring, you do the new stuff on the Isles, and then what else is left? Well, for 6 weeks, 10.0.7 is great. I think it's a good amount of content for an in-between patch, considering May 2nd we're getting the full patch. So it's been really good.
Forbidden Reach. 2 months before that, we got 10.0.5 on the 24th of January. And overall, that means we've got 3 patches in 6 months.
It's a nice set.
Right? 2 months, a patch. 2 months, a patch. A month and a half, a big patch. That is still holding to a 6-month-long season, which does seem to be what we sort of all settled on as being in and around ideal.
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember Legion's 77 days? There would be a patch. We are back on that timescale.
Legion was great in terms of
but the difference
timing
is,
of patches.
This time around, there seems to actually be more content, which overall is, kind of crazy.
It's great.
But of course, there's a question that's almost certainly in your head, and that is, why am I wearing a new hoodie? And that's obviously because we just got all of our team hoodies for the Pale Beyond. By the way, just worth saying, now that we've got enough reviews, the recent reviews for our game, the Pale Beyond, are at 95% on Steam. So, if you'd like to pick up the Pale Beyond, our narrative survival role-playing game, then you can check out down below, with that Steam link. So, thanks to everybody for your support. And with that said, let's talk about what actually is the thing that was probably in your head, which is this too early? Is the game screwed?
No.
I'm concerned.
No.
Okay, so
quit being dramatic,
I'll level with you on the PTR stuff. Here's the deal.
Great.
Quite a few tier sets are in flux in terms of design right, which in a way is reasonable, but it certainly does mean that they will have to be quick with how they do all of this, right? That's definitely the case. That being said, what we have seen on the public test realm is these tier sets being designed, redesigned, tweaked on a week-by-week basis. They have actually been quite proactive to people's feedback.
Yeah, look at what they've done with Ret Paladin, right? Ret Paladin, like on a daily basis, has gotten nerfed, buffed. Like, one thing that Blizzard recently has been doing that they didn't do in the past is they are just going hardcore. In terms of, like, if they see something that needs to be fixed, they don't wait until the next Tuesday. They're just hot-fixing the shit out of things very quickly, which has been good. They're just like, shit, drop the patch and we'll hot-fix things.
Obviously, though, the question is going to be, is this going to be enough time? The other side of things, of course, is the Mythic Plus
It's very different from old way of Blizzard.
We did a video on that. It was a fiery video. Look at this thumbnail. Literally, fire. I didn't get hurt. It's not real fire. Sorry for lying to you.
You didn't like the
but
Garrison.
Those issues with the affixes, to many people in the player base, actually are quite major issues. Even though...
What about the shipyard at the
these
Garrison?
affixes actually will be quite easy to deal with. They're just not the direction that people wanted. Even though the counterplay to them all is actually really not going to be a problem for most groups. I think there is just some, people being a bit frustrated in principle. And then basically the question is, affixes aside, will raid and dungeon testing be
They have been changing them, Maxi.
Will the
They're
next,
still
say,
in work in
4
progress.
weeks? I mean, literally 4 weeks. Is that going to be enough, assuming the final week's PTR build is also going to be the
Yesterday we talked about the affixes, and one thing that they changed about a lot of them was the RNG-ness. Of them. So they're really starting to make sure that the affixes kind of pop at the same spot and on the same mob every time. And that's to stop kind of the shittiness of, like, well, you have a vine pull-in mechanic on a boss that you need to spread out on or you're gonna die. It's they're just making sure that you don't get bad RNG in terms of affix mechanics.
Release candidate. That said, I mean, look,
Yes,
I kind of do
RNG-ness,
imagine
yes.
maybe we will get a little bit of NA beta because that does seem to happen, much to the chagrin of those
Yeah,
of
the
you in
interrupt
America
one
who
is
get the
horrible, I
patches
agree.
first, and much to the, well, I don't know, whatever it is for us in Europe, who generally get a slightly better working patch, albeit a bit later. Big picture though, usually those kinks are ironed out in not that much time. And looking at this patch, nearly everything else actually does seem to be pretty good, right? The
Looks
rest
great.
of it is all there,
Run
happy
it.
enough. So essentially, assuming they get those two things broadly right, we're just in for an utter shed-load of content compared to what we would have usually got.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. Some people have also been saying, hey, I haven't had time to finish my 10.0.7 goals. Now, that's a fun little thing because
Get good. The hell? You haven't had time to do the damn ring? You can do that shit in a day. Get good.
you can come back.
Fucking
But to a
complaining.
lot of people, it's the framing, right? Where they're like, oh, as soon as there's another patch, this is now old content. Even if it is only 6 weeks old. So
From what I've seen, I think the ring is going to be pretty relevant until like high-end heroic or something.
I do have to wonder what that will be like mentally. Now, undoubtedly, there are certainly things like where rare elites will be a bit harder to get groups for. There may be
Jesus,
fewer
Icky,
people
my
who
God,
are
that's a lot of
spawning the
tunes.
profession rares, things like that. But that said, when I actually think about the overall sort of
Yeah, the
structure
servers ate shit
of
on the last
patch
patch.
10.0.7, I don't really, I don't think that's the largest concern. Here's the deal, right? You've got the campaign. It's not particularly long. It's actually really good.
The
and a step
campaign
up,
was amazing.
A big step up over what we've been used to. And that campaign is a direct prelude to the content of patch 10.1.
Right.
Okay? So that's the main thing that you have to do to feel like you are kept up. And while you go around the Forbidden Reach, what do you get? You get bind on account 385 gear tokens, and you get upgrade tokens. So stuff that means that you can quickly gear up your alts.
385.
In the Zaralek caverns where you're doing,
Noobs.
the whole sort of puzzle mini game to build your Onyx Amulet and
It's been
all the
great
gems
actually for
it.
alts.
Well, here's the deal. That is actually going to be relevant content in the next patch
Right.
for the majority of players, just not those who are going to be pushing things a bit harder, right? So that actually means that the Forbidden Reach does act like a form of catch-up to
It is
get
a catch-up.
everybody
100%
ready
the Forbidden Reach
before
is a
the patch,
catch-up.
to help get new characters up to speed during the patch, and where people can still have the likes of the Onyx Amulet actually being a relevant thing for them during the patch. And if that is the case, then people will
Timeless
be doing the
Isles
rares to get
2.0.
keys for
Yeah,
the
it's
amulet.
actually a good comparison.
And then we look at the other content of 10.07, you've got the additional stuff that you can do where you like select one of the
You know,
factions.
Immer Daddy, I was
select one
actually
of
thinking the same
Dragonflight,
thing.
Factions.
I wonder if they're
You
going to
get
give
a
us
few more quests for them,
a way to
and
up
a
the item level
10%,
of the Onyx Amulet.
bonus to reputation in that day. Well, that's evergreen, right? That's just kind of accelerated catch up for those reputations. So that's not even an issue. And when you think about the other major features they added, those are UI things, which are evergreen.
Right.
Just quite a few fixes, tweaks, stuff like that. The Retribution Paladin rework, which again,
Ret
that's
Valleys.
an evergreen thing.
They're getting nerfed
And
today,
it
I think,
probably
but they are
helps
top of
that
the
they,
charts right
have
now.
got some of their post-launch balancing done now instead of having to do it at the start of a new season, so that's probably a good thing.
Right, or a way to
then
put stats on your
Heritage
Onyx
Armor
Amulet,
quest
that
lines,
would be good.
those are evergreen. And then when we think
Heritage
about
Armor was great.
the trading post, that's been giving people something to talk about, some extra things to do, and a
I think
bunch
the
of
trading
transmobs and all
post-
that stuff. And it's been
All in
doing
all, I think the trading post has been a big W. I love that thing. I think it's great. It's fun to see it every month, see what it's up, what's going to be available. Again, it's included with your sub. It's not it's just an additional thing that we get every month to do. And I've done it a couple of times, like just when I'm bored, go do some trading post stuff.
doing so since February, and it's just going to keep on doing
All
that.
in all, I think it's been a lot of fun.
So when you kind of see how they're actually just layering and layering and layering and building things up in the game more and more and more and more, I think you do see this patch cycle can actually
I
win.
actually did my
So
layering yesterday.
Clearly 10.07, they always made that as if it was a prelude patch. Now, when we get to some other dates,
Oh,
a
Icky,
fairly
I'm sorry,
obvious
man.
thing crops up,
Twitch-
and that
Twitch
is
ads.
Diablo. All right? Diablo 4, honestly, slaps super hard.
I did. I got
and
my
I can't
Lariat
believe I'm
crafted
saying
yesterday.
that because I have a bias against that genre. But
Fine,
I
man.
really enjoyed it. Matt really enjoyed it. It comes out on the 6th of June. But they are doing the thing where the people who buy it early get to actually start playing it on the 2nd of June.
That's a badass
Because,
boss
it's the
fight.
modern
Holy
industry.
crap.
It is what it is. They've successfully built up hype. They've had the most successful Diablo beta ever. They've had pretty insane
Diablo 4
numbers.
has
They've had
has been a nice win for
essentially
Blizzard
from the
for sure.
press and from general audiences.
418, come on, who do you think
Absolutely
I am?
outstanding reviews. It does look like it's going to be a big win for them. So that always meant like patch 10.1. It's either going to be before Diablo or after Diablo. I think we said it was 50-50. I just in no way thought that it would be this much before Diablo. As for the other downsides, I think the only other group that have been a little bit put off by this is some of the Race to World First guilds, because they end up doing these live events with, all the glitz and the glam and the sponsors and the casters.
Right.
So they found out about this with a month in advance. It seems they were actually caught off guard by it.
Get your
which
shit
is just one of
together.
those things. It's like, Blizz, if you sort of want to benefit from there being a Race to World First, then you should probably work something out there. But then they obviously don't want their patch dates to leak.
I was gonna say you
really
can't,
want a
man. As a
situation
company,
where
you cannot like tell Echo when the patch is gonna drop and assume it's not gonna get leaked. It's gonna get leaked. So you got to be careful with that stuff.
some players are getting special treatment because they do that.
Not only that, it'll
when it
affect
comes
the way
to
they play the
access
game if
to
they know
information
before the
for
rest
a
of the
new
player
patch,
base
right?
when a patch is gonna drop.
So it's kind of a hard one to work out there, but I mean, at the end of the day, if the Race to World First is just a player-driven thing, it's not like Blizzard absolutely need to be super accommodating. It's
they
just that, if they know what's going to happen, they may as well try not to be rude about it. But I think for the vast majority of players, that's just not a concern that exists.
Yeah, I don't.
So it's not really
It's
a
Mythic
problem.
Plus.
And overall, that
mean,
leaves
it's,
us in a situation where
Race to World
I
First,
think
it's fine.
if somebody purchased a 6-month recurring subscription at the start of this expansion, I really
your
think
money's
they can
worth.
feel actually pretty damn good about
Hell
that
yeah.
purchase, because they've got more content than we pretty much ever got within a 6-month span, right?
Always use another
that's-
death knight.
Icky, dude, thank you so much. Thank you so much for using your Prime sub over here. Death Knight of our Scourge. Icky coming in.
That's kind of
hard
mental,
and
but that
fast this
does
morning.
appear to
Thank you,
sort
man.
of
I
be
appreciate
what
that.
it is, right? That's crazy. Now, there's a few other things that we can infer from this.
What's up, Caleb?
If
Good morning.
patch 10.1 coming out early May is the case, then it actually opens us up for something that I previously thought could have been impossible. And that is patch 10.3.
Oh.
Now, I'm not sure about this, but think about it this way. If WoW's next expansion is to come out in the 4th quarter of 2024,
Yeah.
of course, it's going to be announced at BlizzCon, which will likely be in the 4th quarter
They are
of
doing a
this
BlizzCon
year.
too. They did say
Okay?
that.
If that's going to be the case, then if patch 10.1
Damn, man,
came
that means
out-
we're gonna know about the next expansion and the holidays coming up. I mean, that feels very soon. Like after the summer, we're gonna start to hear shit about the next expansion. Holy crap! It feels like Dragonflight just dropped yesterday.
like mid to late June, and then patch 10.2 came out like, I don't know, early December.
Right.
And then from like December to June, maybe June would be the kind of like, the greatest hit season, like with season 4 of Shadowlands.
Faded rating?
Like I was looking at that and just thinking, I don't know if this is going to be possible. But now it actually could be.
Yeah.
Because if patch 10.2 comes out in November, and then you have like
Right.
maybe early May, late April, I'm not exactly sure, for like, a 10.3, then I suppose you could have a situation where you could have 10.3 and then a pretty quick greatest hit season before the next expansion comes
Right.
out. It's hard to say, but I just do say that because there's been one thing that's honestly
That's
been
exciting,
puzzling
man.
me quite a bit.
Not gonna lie.
And that is, if patch 10.2 is going to be Emerald Dream themed, as some of the data mining is indicated,
Emerald.
then I was
Calling it here right now. It's gonna be called Emerald Wet Dream. That's right. Calling it right now.
wasn't exactly sure how we'd even resolve like the bronze
Because
dragonflight.
it's going to lead into the next expansion. We're getting a pirate expansion where we're going to sail the seas, right? So they're going to combine the whole ocean theme with the Emerald Dream. It's going to be called the Emerald Wet Dream. You heard it here first.
Stories in the game. I kind of always assumed that the bronze would have a major patch and be a pretty big influence. And perhaps it is the case that maybe it is the case that this now buys them enough time for that. Of course, the alternative thing would be
Why else would we get a loot
them
transmogs? Exactly.
actually just not releasing WoW's next expansion in 2024 and maybe bumping it into 2025 and just having Dragonflight being a longer than usual expansion that is significantly more stuffed with content. Hard to say exactly, but overall
Web,
here,
coming in with the sub. Thank you so much, man. Using your prime. Shit, we're one event away from a hype train. Thank you so much, Web. You guys coming in with the primes this morning. Continuing to be a death knight of our scourge. Web, thank you so much, man.
This is pretty incredible. We've never had as much content
kicking
like
off
this.
the hype train with
I
the
think
100
that
bits.
for the
Thanks,
players
man.
who just, they're there to do the world content, this is really important because it would be so easy for them to just be done with the game.
What a nice way to start off the morning.
I mean, like, how long can you do Primal Storms for? Even with the modified Primal Storm thing that they did in the Primalist Future with 10.05. Like, how long can that really last for? Well, now there's a Forbidden Reach. In the next, in the next patch, there's going to be Zaralek Cavern. And then after that, we're going to have what? Another, 0.5 and 0.7 patch. Who knows what they will bring? I'm thinking archaeology revamp. I'm thinking a Mage Tower-like feature, to be honest, if I was guessing.
Maybe.
It's also, by the way, an insane time for video games. We've got Jedi Survivor coming out in April. We've got Zelda Tears of the Kingdom May 12th. It's all craziness. It's also coming 3 weeks ahead of FF 14's next patch, which overall just means like being a gamer is really hard right now because there is just so much video game to play.
Well, it's pretty easy for me.
How is this possible?
You just be a weeb for WoW and only play one game. There you go.
Possible. I actually think there is a way that it is possible. And this is Blizzard returning to something that they did and then stopped doing. So, seasons. Patches being limited to one a season has damaged WoW quite a bit, in my opinion. Now, yes, we have had, 9.1.5,
Rayuno, good morning.
That patch had feck all in it of actual content, really. Back in Legion, they had this philosophy where they didn't want, say, a raid release cadence or something like that to hold them back from releasing world content. And we actually had a funny enough situation in patch 8.2 where it came out with 2 full zones. Right?
That's
Mechagon, Nazjatar.
Yep.
In this situation, 10.07 has 1 zone, though it is, reused and updated stuff from the Drakthir starting zone. It had a whole bunch of quest lines that probably could have fit in a 10.1 in a usual slow schedule. And then 10.1 is just like, large main zone. I suppose it's more of a patch 9.2 size thing. But I think the basic point here is
the new zone's very big.
Are able to pull content forward a bit, design it to be mid-season content that for many players will still extend into the start of the next season, and then have a far more
Rayuno, taking the hype train to the next level. 2 gifted subs. Thank you so much, man. I got to get you some plague points for that Homestruck and hijacks. Welcome, Death Knights of our Scourge.
Content
Thanks to Rayuno
so
and
it's
his
the
gifted
idea
subs.
that if you're a world content player, you don't have to wait for Season 1 to be over for you to get a new thing to do. And perhaps that gear will let you experience a bit more of Season 1. So overall, I think it is a significantly more healthy content cadence for the game. And as for the other side of how this is possible, well, the WoW team's over 700 people now. It's actually grown substantially. They literally have hundreds more staff since the start of, or at least since the credits of 9.0. They have hundreds more staff since that point. Like, they've grown over 50%. It's kind of crazy. Ian said to me in the interview that they're basically, now, take all things with a grain of salt, but basically they're doing the same thing. They just have so many more people that they're able to work in parallel a hell of a lot more. And I mean, ultimately,
that makes sense.
That is what a big live game needs. So who knows? I know
the WoW team was understaffed severely, so it's good to see that they're able to keep up now a little bit.
That in the past, Blizzard had shied away. They were afraid of over-investing in World of Warcraft. I think as evidenced by them very quickly moving on to Project Titan, with it sort of being intended to be the successor game to WoW. World of Warcraft could have had a lot of upgrades a hell of a lot sooner. From what I understand, it could have had more capital thrown at it quite a bit sooner.
Sure.
But I think what happened is that they realized
Titan /
WoW actually
now
is a main product of Blizzard. And it always was, obviously. It was always the cash cow. But I think they've realized this is not the cash cow that they can minimally invest in, because we're in a world where there are so many other massive live service games. They're not competing with other MMOs as much. They're also competing with Netflix. They're competing with Amazon Prime.
They're competing for your
with
time,
Warframe,
like everything else.
Path of Exile, Destiny,
Very
and
true.
all a myriad of live games that people are playing right now.
Very
I think
true.
they've realized that, okay, if we're going to keep the cash cow alive, we need to invest in it like it's one of the most important.
There's only so many hours in a day, right? And with all the new games coming out and, the competitiveness of the landscape, like you said, they're not just competing against MMOs. And not to mention, I feel like the WoW player base in general has aged, right? We've gotten older. A lot of us have been playing this game for a long time. I guarantee you the average age of the average WoW player has gone up, right? Since we're just all aging. We're all old as shit now. So they're competing with, your job, for one, that takes a lot of time in your day, your family, your wife, your kids, whatever, the games that are coming out, the time you set aside in the day to jerk off, all that stuff is taking time out of your day. So WoW has to justify that, hey, you got that extra hour or 2 or 3 in your day, use it to play WoW. They need to justify that. And it didn't used to be that way, but it sure is now. And I think they've been doing a good job.
Things that we can possibly do. So I don't know. Maybe Bobby's just opened up the checkbook, and John Haidt has went.
I started when I was 15. I'm now 32.
So obviously, it's a shame that the whole enforced return to office mandate and stuff like that maybe will cause brain drain from the company.
Turning 33. Jesus, what are we in? April, May? I'm turning 33 in June. Holy crap!
And look, you
I'm
can
getting
have whatever
old, guys.
your opinion is on that, but ultimately, the amount of content that we've got now shows that working from home has worked for the World of Warcraft development team. So, if changing from that new status quo
3 minute in the corner isn't going to take
from that to what they want the new thing to be, which is the enforced working in the office, if changing that means that they experience brain drain, that is bad for the game. So absolutely, this is a case where things are really good right now, but we can't burn out. This can't be a situation where WoW is kept alive via massive churn. So Blizzard absolutely needs to treat its people right. But overall, I think that this is a humongous win for the game. The fact that they are able to do this is a pretty damn good win. They will need to be very careful and, to be honest with you, probably just work their fucking asses off in order to get this patch out on time and also meet player feedback on some of the affixes, some of the dungeons, getting all the raid testing done, getting all the class balancing done. That's certainly going to be tricky. I wish them luck with that, of course. But yeah, overall, this is just a humongous win. Yeah, it's not been like this in a long, long time. One of the last times where World of Warcraft experienced a dip at the start of an expansion, but then was able to very slowly grow through an expansion. It may be one of the only times in recent memory that it's happened, and it was Mists of Pandaria. Mists had a pretty well-paced content cadence, a bit more similar to what we're experiencing.
Thank you for the hype train, guys.
Now or in Legion. It had really, really, really good content for the time. They were innovating. They were trying to shake the game up. It really felt like WoW was alive and it was growing. It actually had some pretty good marketing as well. I'm thinking about the patch 5.4 trailer. And with that, we actually saw subs go up during an expansion. And ultimately, WoW's largest problem has been this massive spike, massive fall thing. Because we've seen that through Legion, BFA, and Shadowlands, people got worn down, and now to Dragonflight, people lost faith. They've been churned too much. They've been churned so much they're no longer willing to give the game a chance, which is why Dragonflight, you could perhaps say, rightly given the past, undersold.
I banned them, and not before they freaking spammed the shit out of that thing.
There was no, COVID thingy going on, enforced work from home and, lockdowns and all of that. Who knows? Maybe it is the case that the pandemic served to inflate Shadowlands' numbers, and maybe that actually masked the problem from Blizzard. Because maybe they thought, oh, look at these numbers, it's fastest selling PC game of all time. Great. We don't have to worry. Maybe that's what happened. Who knows? Maybe one of the reasons why, maybe pre-order data was so good that they felt like, no, we are actually onto this. People must be resonating with Covenants. Look how many pre-orders we've got. Of course, there's a lockdown. People are playing video games because there's shag all else they can do. So
Right.
it's one of those things.
The lockdown was good for
I
video
think that
games,
this is
that's for
now
sure.
a time where the game deserves to have those numbers in the fashion of MOP go back up again. This is exciting. I don't think there's anything else that I really
great.
have to say
It's a
about
good
this
time to
issue.
be a
Other
WoW
than,
player.
obviously, if you want to support what we're doing and check out the Pale Beyond, the game that we went and developed,
There it is.
that has came out, is now on 95%
Check out the Pale Beyond.
recent views. And the reason why 95%, I think it's of like about 250 reviews, but the reason why that matters is that
Among Us popped
95%
out. That
is
was
the
a good one.
threshold for Steam to call your game overwhelmingly
Warzone
positive.
was a big lockdown
at least
title.
at the time recording. Who knows? It may have went down to 94, but at least as I sit and record this, we're at 95 overwhelmingly positive, which is just insane. And we have got more big news for the game, hopefully next week.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, stuff's just going really good. So,
Good stuff.
thank you, everybody. That's the crack with World of Warcraft, and I suppose my general thoughts about the health of the game, the state of its development.
There it is.
Let me know what your thoughts are. Perhaps if them actually now showing up with the goods, is that making you reconsider?
Good video
trying
from
the game?
Bellular.
I'd love to hear. So
I like what he had to say.
Check out this video next for some awesome
Yeah,
content.
I think
I'll see you next time.
it's in a good spot. Wow, the time cadence for their patches looks good. The next expansion, man, I feel like it's right around the corner, and they're giving us tons of content leading up to it. It feels good, man. Feels good.